For copyright reasons, the producers of Taking Hugh for Granted would like to state that this podcast is in no way associated with the actor Hugh John Mungo Grant, nor does it endorse his views or represent him in any way. We simply review Mr. Grant's films and hope to shine light upon some of the lesser-known classics from his illustrious career. Hugh, if you're listening, we hope you approve.
Listen, I did film and television studies at university for 3 years. I spent hours reading countless books and articles on subjects spanning from film all the way to television. Not a single one mentioned Hugh Grant once.
I achieved the hardest qualification across any university or college ever, a 2-1 in history. Let me tell you, the only thing that I learned was that we, as a society, have a history of denying and neglecting Hugh Grant's artistic and cultural relevance, not just in this country, but in the entire world.
I met Oscar at a Hugh Grant-themed event I put on at the Students' Union.
It felt as though Diggory and I were the only ones there, and we agreed that there was a Hugh Grant-shaped hole in academia.
We decided to put it right ourselves. We want to show people that he's an icon in acting.
We want to show people he's more than just a bumbling posh guy.
I'm Diggory Waite.
And I'm Oscar Beardmore Gray. And this is...
Taking Hugh for Granted.
Hello and welcome. You're listening to Taking Hugh for Granted, the show in which Diggory Waite and Oscar Beardmore Gray watch every single film starring the VIP, celebrity and West End legend that is Hugh Grant and ask the question, is this film taking Hugh for granted? Is this film good on its own, or does it rely on the bumbling Brit for its acclaim? This week, it's Paddington 2, a big one, Oscar.
This is an absolute huge one for the fans of Hugh Grant. I think many people have had their heads turned by this film in terms of what they think about Hugh Grant, and I'm really looking forward to diving into this one.
Yeah, I can't wait. I think more so than any other film that we've done so far. I mean, we've done films like White Mischief and Lair of the White Worm. When I say those to people, people are like, what? But the complete opposite happens with Paddington 2. Everyone kept saying to me, I would tell them about the podcast, and they go, "Have you seen Paddington 2 yet?" And I had to say no. I'm saying for the podcast, and they'd be like, "Oh my god, it's amazing! You're gonna love it." I have a number.
I can't believe you never watched it before. No.
Yeah, I know, but same. And I guess it just passed me by because Paddington 1, in my research I was seeing, Paddington 1 has I think it's one of the highest grossing films made in the UK ever at the time that it's released. In 2015, 14 or 15, I think it's the highest grossing film ever made in the UK. So everyone, everyone's seen Paddington 1 and Paddington 2. A number of people said to me, they were like, "Listen, this is the best film ever made." And I was like, and they were saying it in all seriousness. And I was like, "Oh my god, okay."
Well, if you go on Rotten Tomatoes or Rotten Tomatoes, whichever way you call it, they would agree with you because did you know that Paddington 2 is the only film that has 100%, has the highest reviews in any film on Rotten Tomatoes. 100% from 237 reviews, beating Toy Story 2, I believe. So if that's an endorsement on the film, I don't know what is.
Paddington 2, directed by Paul King and released in 2017. Paddington Bear, voiced by Ben Wishaw, is now happily settled with the Brown family and a popular member of the local community. He picks up a series of odd jobs to buy the perfect present for the 100th birthday of his Aunt Lucy, voiced by Imelda Staunton. When the gift is stolen and Paddington framed, it's up to the Bear and the Browns to unmask the true thief, the devilish and egotistical actor Phoenix Buchanan, played by Hugh Grant.
So, Oscar, Paddington 2, where to start? I guess, as it's taking Hugh for granted, we'll just start straight away. The first time we see Hugh Grant, Phoenix Buchanan, standing up on stage, opening up the fairground of, I can't remember the name of the lady, some famous acrobat or something. God, I literally watched the film this afternoon.
That's beside the point. Is a brilliant, brilliant first scene just because it is pure self-deprecation on Hugh's part. He's talking about he's being billed as a once famous actor, someone who apparently does dog commercials now, and that's it. And it's clearly a bit of a play on the fact that up until at the moment he's in the zeitgeist, but at that point he wasn't really. So I think it was a kind of play at him being like, yeah, here I am. I'm not that big an actor, not really that big a deal anymore.
Yeah.
It's a great introduction.
I mean, exactly the same thing. He said in an interview that I saw that the producers sent him the script with a note saying, well, we're doing the sequel for Paddington 2. It's a big British film, blah, blah, blah. There's a character in there who is a washed up, narcissistic actor, and we thought of you. So here's the script.
Oh, doesn't that man live in the big house on the corner?
It's Phoenix Buchanan.
Dad's celebrity client.
He's one of our Platinum Club members and a very famous actor.
I used to be.
Now then, simmer down, simmer. All right, a little bit more. I'm sorry, I'm at my worst tonight, I really am. I am tickled, the deepest shade of shrimp, to have been asked here tonight to open this wonderful old steam fair.
But you know, when Madame Kozlova created this thing all those years ago,
She most certainly was not thinking of people like me. So, I'm going to ask one of you to come up here and open the fair. Volunteers? Anyone? Eeny, meeny, miny. Bear. Oh, let's have the young bear. Why not? Come, young Ursine.
It's just the perfect first scene for his character, addressing a group of people who he thinks love him, and he gets to be like joke and laugh, and everyone's having a good time, and he gets to talk himself up, and he's the center of attention. And then Paddington shows him up for what he is. He's like, "Don't you do dog adverts?" And everyone loves it. And there's this great moment when Paddington says that, and Hugh Grant sort of looks around awkwardly at everyone laughing at him, and then he sort of laughs along. Yeah, he has to force out a laugh, and he bares his teeth. And it's this kind of moment where you, for the first time, see the real malice of this character. Which, to be honest, guys, this is great acting already. Like he's playing this like funny, caricaturish, like, you know, silly man who just thinks he's really funny and he's actually not, and he's past it. And then this moment which is in keeping with that but also has such menace behind it. That's when I knew I was like, right, I am in for a proper Hugh Grant performance here. We are just in such a purple patch. And I know we say it every week that we do a modern Hugh Grant film or a contemporary one, but it's just he's just brilliant.
I mean, there's so much love for him online for this film as well. Like, if you go onto Twitter or whatever and you type in Hugh Grant, which I do pretty much like every day, a lot of it is like, love Hugh Grant in Paddington 2, which is the main one. I mean, you get a few Notting Hills, a few Love Actuallys, but most of them are like, oh, my heart just melted watching Hugh Grant in Paddington 2.
Doctor, thank goodness you're here.
What are we looking at here?
Female, early 50s. I mean, she was in good health, but...
But?
Well, we've identified significant trauma in the center and left side of her chest. It's very similar to the others.
Oh, God. Did she watch Paddington?
2, yeah. She was watching it, and we think at some point in the third act, we think her heart started to melt.
Oh, Jesus.
I know. I mean, how long can this go on for?
It's okay, Derek. Come on.
We've got 4 other patients.
Derek.
Just on this ward.
Derek. It's hard for everyone here.
This is insane. I mean, she's stable now, but...
It's good. She's stable.
Yeah.
That's something.
I know.
Look, Derek, if we're going to get through this, we need people like you to... Wait, Derek, what are you doing?
I'm taking her phone. I'm going to tweet.
What? Derek,
I'm
what?
tweeting. I'm tweeting. You can't stop me. I'm going to tweet, and I'm going to tell people. Paddington 2.
Derek.
Melts my heart.
Oh, Derek, give me the phone.
Crying face.
But going back to the scene with the fairground, I mean, imagine him. This is his first scene, and he's standing on a stage, and he's addressing a bear, which isn't there, because obviously it's like, I mean, can you just imagine that? He's like talking down, because in the film they all like talk down at the bear. And like, I don't know, that I think that would have just been a hilarious image.
I saw somewhere that the different actors prefer different things to act opposite. And I think they had at one point maybe even a child or a small, you know, someone of the height that Paddington Bear would be, like running around. And Hugh said that it was really off-putting, and he preferred what they had in the end, which was a tennis ball that would be at the eye line on a stick. I'm pretty sure.
Yes. I think they mentioned that in the Hugh Grant documentary on BBC the other day. Yeah,
of course.
It's interesting actually that. because I don't think I could act well, I can't act anyway, but like
Oscar, don't do yourself a disservice there, mate. I've seen you act.
Mate, the only thing I've ever acted in since I was about 10, there's a play called The Pillow Man, and I was the pillow.
Wait, what kind of is that? Is that a play that children are allowed to see?
No, it's like a dark comedy where everyone kills themselves. Anyway, so they drafted all the people into the positions, and with about 2 weeks left to go, they were like, "Oh, we need a guy to play the Pillow Man." It's a non-speaking role where you walk around with a pillow on your head and 2 eye sockets. And I couldn't see a thing when I was on the stage because I've literally got 2 eyes like kind of like cut in, and so I can't really see. And I still got the pillow, so I've still got like all the feathers and stuff like that. And I was just terrified about like falling over in my like 2 minutes of fame because I only on the stage for 2 minutes. So that was my last go at acting.
That's
I don't
amazing.
think I'll be trying it again that soon, to be honest.
Hello, welcome back. Thank you for joining us. It's breaking news time here on thenews.com/news. Be sure to join in using the hashtag news. The top news in the news today is prolific actor Oscar Beardmore Grey has announced that he will retire from acting. The actor of such iconic roles like The Pillow in The Pillow Man and announced his retirement earlier today on the Taking Hugh for Granted podcast. Let's take a look back to last year when Oscar hosted his own Oscar award ceremony called the Oscars, in which Oscar won an Oscar for Oscar's performance of the pillow in The Pillow Man. Fans will remember that Oscar decided to wear the pillow costume he wore for the play to the award ceremony, and during his acceptance speech, Oscar chose to speak out about the lack of diversity at the awards. Thank you very much for my award, but when 100% of the people tonight who have been nominated are called Oscar, 100% of the people who won the awards tonight were called Oscar, and 100% of the one person here at the awards is called Oscar, that's not good enough. That's not diversity. Thanks so much again for joining us on this breaking news bulletin from news.com/news.
We should get back to Hugh.
We should get back to Hugh. Let's just talk about his array of characters, starting with the man who steals the book. He's this sort of I think he's dressed as a very unkempt, scruffy, meant to maybe be looking homeless man who's running around, and I'm like 50-something-year-old Hugh Grant won't be running around like that. But anyway, who's running around and keeps yelling, and has this great chase scene with Paddington. And I think the voice that he uses for that, because you don't really see the thief's face, because obviously I think they're trying to keep the whole, is it Hugh Grant, who is it thing. But the voice is kind of like this accent that kind of is reminiscent of his accent in The Gentleman.
I know. I was going to say that we get a little sneak preview here to what he was going to be like in The Gentleman. It's almost identical, actually.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe that's what that's the voice that he puts on when he's trying to play a sort of.
When he sent his CV into The Gentleman, he was like, "Can do estree accent."
yeah.
Paddington
Check
2.
this out. Yeah. I can steal things. I'm a naughty boy in other films as well. But I just thought that was great. And the moment when it cuts back to his attic and he's still doing the voice, but that was a good haul, wasn't it? And then he slowly takes off his moustache and takes off his beard and pulls his hat off, takes his fake teeth out.
That is amazing acting, because that's a pure monologue basically, where he's like acting to a room to people. No, there's no one else there, and he holds it really well. I mean, I'm very, very convinced by his villainous. Is that a word, villainous?
Yeah, well, maybe villainy. I'm not sure.
Villainy.
As a lover of all things literature and playwrights and words, I'm sure Phoenix Buchanan would be able to tell us. But yeah, it's that. Yeah, when he's walking around his attic where he has all the mannequins adorned and in the attire of all of his play heroes, and maybe people he's played from. So he has Scrooge in there. Who else does he have? He's got Poirot, Hamlet, obviously. And he's talking to all of them. And like you say, I think you're absolutely right. That is a great piece of acting when, like you say, it's a monologue. It's in some ways soliloquy. If we're going to put it in Shakespeare terms, as I'm sure Phoenix would love. And you're right, he completely holds your attention and is constantly flitting and switching between these different voices and playing these different characters. And I think, in a way, that's kind of like it's the Hugh Renaissance, it's the Renaissance of Hugh Grant. It's sort of bottled in a single scene, and he does it a little bit later on in the film as well. But those two scenes where he's basically like, "Look, guys, I am not just the Hugh Grant that you guys know, who can basically do a posh, bubbling accent and be a romantic comedy lead. I've got a bit of a range, and I know I'm caricaturing it. It's a bit crazy here, but come hire me. Look, I'm ready to have fun."
Yeah, he definitely shows some serious versatility here. I mean, I think he switches between like a Russian accent, a French accent,
a
Cockney accent. So he's got it all. He's got the whole range there going. Like you said, he's probably like cut that little scene and sent it off to people, being like, "Yeah, this is me. Come get me."
Yeah, you need it, and I think that's like you say, that's definitely what Guy Ritchie did with the Gentleman. But also, I suppose another character that he plays in this is which is great because it sort of ends this bit. He has him as the dog in the dog advert. And I like to think that the dog outfit was his own, and when they said, "We're going to cast you in Paddington," he sort of wore that outfit thinking he was going to be the bear, and then they were like, "No."
Bought it out from like Halloween parties from, I don't know, 1980.
Yeah, I just whipped that bad boy out, and they were like, "Oh, Hughes, have you watched this?"
I think in the Hugh Grant documentary, they talked about how him wearing the dog outfit was a sort of sign that he was really there to have a bit of fun, and he was so willing to put his reputation on the line with this, because this was quite like, this whole film I feel like was quite risky for his reputation. Like, if he got this wrong and it was a massive flop, people would be mocking him for, you know, dressing up in all these insane outfits, putting a dog costume on, and like playing a bit of a fool. But actually, I think he gets it absolutely spot on, and fair play to Hugh, because here he could have really, he could have got absolutely hounded.
Yeah, no pun intended. He could have got absolutely hounded because he literally eats dog food. Like, and the best bit, he takes a bite and goes, "Ruff."
Dinner is served, master.
Thank you, Simpkins. If, like me, your doggy likes to maintain standards, can I recommend Harley's Gourmet Din-Dins? More taste, more goodness, more, dare one say, class?
Harley's Gourmet Dog Food.
Oh.
Not to be consumed by humans.
It's hard to unpick Hugh Grant in this one because there's so much to draw from, and there's so many different characters to draw from. You can't just take Phoenix Buchanan as we see him in that first scene. You got to take him from all walks of life, all characters he plays. The nun costume, Hugh Grant himself says, is the best costume he's ever worn. Oscar, talk to me. What do you think of him as the nun?
Oh my! I don't think I would ever have guessed that Hugh would have done something like this. If someone had told me, like, before going into watching this, Hugh Grant dresses up as a nun, I would have laughed at you. I mean, to be fair, he wears it pretty well. He's a pretty convincing nun.
Well, are you going to tell me you're like the security guard who's like a very attractive nun with amazing eyes?
And he even like kind of he walks like a nun. Not that I really know what a nun walks like, but he kind of like shuffles around like a nun.
Yeah, when he's in formation with the other nuns, it seems like he's completely. That's exactly right.
He's a complete natural.
Exactly.
Duck to water.
It's amazing. And then he quickly. So in that scene, he's part of the nuns, and then runs away quickly to go and find one of these clues to where the treasure is. And like you say, perfectly walking in formation, runs off. With his long nun outfit flowing behind him, is pursued by the great, I can't remember the name of the actor, but he's in Horrible Histories. He's a really interesting, another British actor, just, giving chase in a pathetic fashion.
Attention all units, an unusually attractive nun is causing mayhem in the cathedral dome. Activate emergency protocol. Stop that stunning sister. I set off at lightning speed. But by the time we'd locked the place down, she'd vanished into the night.
Good evening, my son.
Oh, good evening, Your Grace.
Good evening.
Most beautiful woman I've seen in a long long time.
Hugh Grant says it's the best he's looked on screen and the best costume he's ever had to wear.
I mean, it's laugh out loud funny. That's all I'll say.
It really is.
And I think the nun costume actually is one that lots of people point to when they talk about this film. If they're like talking about Hugh Grant and Paddington 2, they're like, he dresses up as a nun. That is bloody hilarious.
Yeah, exactly. That's all you need. I mean, I think they should have just put that as the tagline of this film. Paddington 2, Hugh Grant wears a nun on an outfit. Oh, we have another great moment, which I just love. And this shows, again, how Hugh was so happy to take the piss out of himself. Or maybe the set designers were happy to take the piss out of Hugh. He invites Mrs. Brown into his house to talk about how the investigation's going. Obviously, he's worried that she might be picking up on his scent of him, And the scene inside his house starts on his mantelpiece, filled with pictures of himself. And not only are they pictures of himself, they're not even pictures of Phoenix Buchanan in the film. They're pictures of Hugh Grant, and they're all press shots and like photo shoots he did from his early career. And like that level of detail, because I obviously, Oscar, you'll be the same. We've like had to look up so many Hugh Grant. I've looked up Hugh Grant on Google Images so many times, and I've come across those same pictures so many times from all of his different press shootings from the early days, and they're all in black and white, and he looks so fit, and it's just so great that they put that in the film. It's such a lovely touch.
Do you think they've said to him, what would be funny is I think we should have all your photos from your early days on this mantelpiece, and he's gone, oh, well, I have a lot of them at home. And he's just gone and pulled them from his own house and like put them there. Or I don't know whether,
instead of being like, oh, I'll bring to the set, he's like, well, how about we just shoot the scene from my house, my mantelpiece.
Well, I mean, exactly. That could be like, you could imagine him living in a Windsor Gardens, as it's called in the film. But that looked like a Kensington or Chelsea like place to live.
Exactly.
And you can imagine him with a grand piano and a winding staircases, etc. So you never know. There was also, I don't know if you noticed it, in I think slightly later on in that same scene, there's actually a sort of wall. It's like an oil painting of Hugh.
Yes, I did notice that with a few eclectic colours, a lot of lovely primary colours.
I mean, you talk about going the extra mile. I mean, photos is one thing. But painting, is someone being commissioned to paint Hugh Grant? I don't know. Maybe there's some fans out there who do that. I mean, maybe we should start our own range.
Maybe we should start our own range. Well, yeah, if they ever have they need a Hugh Grant podcast as an insert of audio for a film, they know exactly where to come.
Look over there. Hugh Grant's in a Pret. Look over there. He's holding a baguette.
Can I just say, though, that last scene, I mean, that is an epic last scene. That's like a 20-minute, 25-minute long sort of montage of action-packed drama where you feel like Paddington's going to get his head knocked off by a tunnel. Hugh Bonneville is doing yoga and coconut throwing.
That bit was so
brilliant.
funny.
And Hugh Grant is just like kind of Hugh Grant like, walking up and down the top of a train like Superman,
pursuing a bear and saying a great line, which I thought was very fun, where he said, "Exit bear pursued by an actor," which is actually an amusing reversal of one of Shakespeare's most famous stage directions, "Exit pursued by a bear." So that's very good. It's very Phoenix Buchanan to have done that.
Very, very good.
But
I wouldn't be surprised if Hugh came up with that himself.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised either. But
I mean, trained Shakespeare actor.
Yeah, exactly. But we have also one of my big takeaways was the other Hugh Bonneville, in this film. He and his moment where he's been going through a midlife crisis. He goes to these yoga classes, like you say, and then he's split in between the two trains. You know, when he's trying to similar when you're trying to ride two horses in a Western film. He's riding two trains at the same time, one foot on one foot on the other, and he does the complete splits. And the tagline's great. It's like, open your mind, and you can open your legs, or something like that. And I just thought that is the tagline or motto of every single out there and ready person, like girl ever, who's like, my mind's open and I'm gonna open my legs.
I mean, I think that little segment there encapsulates why this is such a brilliant film, because it's got all this action and it's fast paced, but then it sort of breaks it up with these brilliant moments of comedy. Because that's like in the middle of like a high drama scene where you think Paddington is going to get like speared to death by Hugh Grant, and then Hugh Bonneville just brings out the yoga.
yeah. But it's perfect because you're absolutely right, and it just shows that this film, I think something that it does so well is that everything is cyclical, or everything is connected. So good in the same scene later on. Spoiler alert: Hugh Bonneville, Mr. Brown, ends up throwing one of the coconut shy. What do you throw at a coconut shy? Just a ball, but like a hard one. I don't know. Tennis ball.
Or maybe a hard ball. Yeah.
He throws like some sort of hard ball, like a that you'd have in baseball, or cricket, or whatever. Throws it clean at Hugh Grant, and he hits the deck. Now, there's a scene way earlier where he's talking about how he, I guess, in part, seduced Mrs. Brown back in the day when he had long hair, and he would go to the coconut shy, and he would be amazing at throwing at the coconut shy. And I just thought that was a fun little insert, like kind of like with Family Guy would be like, I remember this, and then they'll have it, and then that's it, and it'll come back.
Yeah.
But everything in this film, they sow a seed, and later in the film, it will be a full-grown plant, and it will come round full circle. And
yeah, brilliant.
Great
writing, great screenplay.
Stop me, oh, stop me. Stop me if you think that you've heard this one before.
Stop. We've heard it before.
I have to say, I was nearly in tears at the end when Hugh's been knocked out. He sent Paddington's train or carriage. He's unlocked the carriage, and it sends it spiraling off in another direction, and it goes over the ravine into the river. And you think Paddington's going to drown, and Mrs. Brown comes down, and it's like this very like touching moment where he puts his little claw out, and then Knuckles comes and saves the day. But yeah, I was welling up, mate.
Yeah, that moment it's the moment as well when. I think Paddington Bear does it first. They're both really trying at the lock, and he's underwater and he's drowning, and then he just sort of looks at her, I think, and shakes his head. And I was like, oh no, oh wow. It's just that moment where he shakes, and then she also lets go, and it's like they're both letting go, and he's gonna die, and you're like, oh my god. But
I mean, it's like Daniel Craig and Vesper in James Bond, but slightly better.
Ever so slightly. And then like you said, I'm glad we mentioned Knuckles, because Knuckles McKinty is and Brendan Gleeson's performance and his character, who Paddington Bear meets Brendan in meets Knuckles in the prison, and they form an unlikely friendship. And even though it looks like Knuckles is going to turn his back on Paddington, he doesn't. He comes back to save the day. What an amazing character, and just what a great payoff, and what a great moment at that when he saves the day at that point. But I really thought, if we're talking about people who are having fun in this film and actors who are having a great time, Brendan Gleeson had surely just the best time ever.
Exactly.
As Knuckles.
And then such a beautiful ending to the film with Aunt Lucy coming to celebrate her birthday, and they like hug, and then that's the end of the film, and that's all you want. I think I read a little tiny little review, and I think this absolutely sums up the film, and Hugh Grant is very much part of this, which is to say Paddington 2 won't. So someone said Paddington 2 won't save the world, sadly, but its existence makes everything just that little bit better and more bearable. Pardon the pun. But that's true. The end of the film, you come out of the film and you're like, that was really nice. And I feel fulfilled, and it was funny. It was a very British film, which I guess for us was nice. And bring on the next one.
Yeah, mate. Bring on the next one. It's just such a shame that I doubt that Hugh will be returning. But
no.
Synopsis Simon had returned from getting some food for this evening, and he just caught all he needed to catch was the last 10 minutes of the film, and then Paddington Bear and his quote, not mum but whatever, hug, and and we were both just there in tears. And it's just such a great, sweet moment to end on. And literally, I cry at anything. I went to go and see 1917 the other day. That's a war film. Cried the entire way through. Jojo Rabbit, exactly the same. Cried the whole way through the second half. So I cry easily, but this film is a bit of a tearjerker, so you can fully get why.
But of course, it isn't quite the ending.
No. And you know what, Oscar? I almost bloody missed it. I almost missed it. So I was doing some research afterwards, and then someone said, "Oh yeah, some people miss the end bit," and I said, "What end bit? What credits bit? What?" So I had to go back and watch. And what happened?
Well, Hugh steals the show, and if you were in the cinema watching this, you'd stay to the very end. I don't know if you're a sort of guy who gets up before you stay. Anyway, so if you haven't watched the ending, you've got to stay for the credits, because Hugh puts on a brilliant performance where he's in the prison. We go back to the prison. They have those pink uniforms on because Paddington put a pink sock in the wash, and he is dancing with like ABBA frills on his trousers, and like kind of just like prancing with an umbrella. And it's just like, I don't know where the hell they came up with that.
I mean, it's the most amazing thing for so many reasons. So it's great. So he's sentenced to prison, and also I just want to talk about that because he's sentenced to prison by the judge who also Paddington has pissed up loads, and in the film. So he's sentenced to prison, and he goes, you caused the most heinous crime, and then he was like, oh, and then he's like,
that's brilliant.
He's like, you're a stain on acting or something like that. He's like, ah! It's like, it's the worst thing that ever could be said to him. And then it's great because he gets, it's the perfect ending because Hugh Grant gets what he deserves. He goes to prison for 10 years. He's been sentenced to prison for 10 years. But he also gets to live out his dream. He literally sings the same song that he sung to Mrs. Brown when he was like, I've got this one-man stage show and I'm going to do it in front of everyone. He's singing the same song that he shows to her at the time. And he says at the end, he was like, turns out I just needed a captive audience. And if you'll pardon the pun. And
then at the very end,
sweet.
that whole there's a big sign that sort of comes down which just says Phoenix Buchanan on it.
Yes,
brilliant.
It's great. So yeah, he gets to do his whole musical number. He gets to be the star that he always wanted, even though, and rightfully so, he's been put in prison because not only someone that I saw online, not only did he steal the book, but also he did a lot of other stuff. He broke and entered. He threatened death. He literally attempted to kill Paddington Bear. It's actually quite surprising.
That is
heinous. Yeah, exactly. It's actually quite surprising that he only gets 10 years, the same amount that Paddington Bear got.
Poor Paddington got.
Yeah.
Poor Paddington.
Poor Paddington. That was so. But he took it on the chin, mate, and got straight back out there and made everyone friends, and everyone was having a great time in that prison.
What a good guy.
Taking he for granted. Taking he for granted. Taking he for granted. What did you think, lads? Were they taking he for granted?
Well, Oscar, I'm sure I know the answer to this, but are we taking you for granted?
We are certainly not taking Hugh for granted in what is probably Hugh's greatest performance to date. Perhaps. I mean, for many people, this is the first time they would have seen him not doing what they consider his typical role of being the lead in a rom-com and melting everyone's hearts. He melts people's hearts in a completely different way through his comedic genius, his quite brilliant and versatile acting. And yeah, anyone who says to you that they don't like Hugh in this film, they I mean, give them two fingers because like they can't say that.
Exactly. I mean, look, I'm yet to find someone. Let me say now, I'm yet to find someone that doesn't like Hugh Grant in this film. I think the greatest praise I can give this film is not only by saying that it's not taking Hugh for granted, but also by saying that Phoenix Buchanan would be proud of Hugh Grant's performance.
He would be very proud.
He would be so proud. I think, like you say, in the context of Hugh Grant and his career, in light of the actual performance and in light of the film being so good, all those three things together, this means that it probably is Hugh Grant's greatest film and performance to date, which is quite an amazing thing to say.
This one will go down in the ages, I think. I honestly think that we will be watching this film because it's a brilliant it's a kids film as well. So for generations, I think we'll be watching this film and little kids will be like, Daddy, who's that guy, the villain guy? And you're like, that, my friend, is Hugh Grant.
And you can listen to his podcast. I'm actually a platinum member. I'm a platinum club member. Unlike Phoenix Buchanan, who is not a platinum club member of the accountancy firm or whatever the hell Mr. Brown is. Well, tell your kids, tell your mum, tell your dad, tell everyone in the family to not only watch this film, but listen to Taking Hugh for Granted. Thank you so much for your support, and I can't wait to see you next episode.
Yeah, thanks so much for listening, everyone. We appreciate your support as ever, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Goodbye. Hello, what are you still doing here listening to the show even after the outro music? I like your style. You're the kind of person that sits through the credits as well in the cinema and just soaks up as much of that content as possible. Well, I rate that, and you clearly like, you're taking you for granted, you clearly like your Hugh Grant, so why don't I suggest another one of our episodes to you, White Mischief. Now, you might not have seen the film, that's absolutely fine. We've got Synopsis Simon on the case and we talk you through it. It's 35 minutes of more Hugh Grant goodness. Here's a little sneak preview and a snippet for you here.
Okay, just as a precursor to our audience, Hugh Grant literally has about 5 lines in this entire film.
Oscar, I've counted. By my calculation, he has 8 lines in the film.
But they all come at the beginning, so you're kind of like, oh, Hugh Grant's going to be the main act.
Yeah, legit. It's Hugh Grant. He was the 12th name on the billing at the beginning, and he was on screen for 1 minute and 27 seconds by my calculation. So if you're looking for a classic Hugh Grant film, this is the one to go for because it's wrapped up nice and quick. You get Hugh, you get out. Like, it's fine.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. You literally have to be there for a minute and a half.
Doesn't that sound like some great Hugh Grant goodness? Well, you can listen to that episode, White Mischief, and more if you go to whatever feed you're listening to us on. That can be iTunes, that can be Spotify. Search it up, find it, and listen to some more good Hugh Grant fun. All right, see you later, guys.